They did that a lot in the 80s, those really fancy digital transitions. And now we see some animation, the same animation style that was in the original intro. But one thing I should mention before I forget, before we move on to this, about the milking machine, I played with a pretend milking machine at the Hands On House Children's Museum in Lancaster. They had this farm exhibit, and they had what was like the model of a back of a cow, and it had an udder underneath it, and it had these big suction cups, and you just sort of attach it to the udder underneath. I mean, it didn't make any sound. There was no air going through it or anything, and no fake milk simulator or anything fancy like that. So it was just the model of the cow and the machine there, and you just put it on and take it off, and that's that. But like I mentioned before, the first time I went to Hands On House was when I was 3 years old, and the first time I watched Reading Rainbow was when I was 3 years old. And seeing the milking machine on Reading Rainbow and seeing it at Hands On House, that was super exciting. I'll never forget that. Oh, and I should also mention that when LeVar opens the milk carton the second time and hears the crowd cheering inside, boy oh boy, the editors sure had a lot of fun with this episode, didn't they? He hears the cheering again, and then he goes, ah, which is like an exaggerated version of going, ah, after you've just had a refreshing drink. But he says it in a way that it kind of mimics the cheering, which is kind of weird because normal cheering is a lot louder, but when you just hear thousands of people cheering all at the same time, especially on TV or something, it comes across by sounding like, ah. So it's kind of funny that he did that. Sort of has like the double meaning. It represents the refreshing milk that he's about to drink and the sound of the cheering that he's imagining. And another thing, if you hold your ear up to a milk carton and you kind of hear air echoing inside, I guess it could sound a little bit like that for real. I mean, not to the extent that it sounds on the show, but when I was a little kid, I remember holding objects up to my ear and they sound kind of funny. You know how like when you hold a seashell up to your ear and it sounds like the ocean? Well, I think that's what they were trying to make you think of with this scene here. Okay, so here we have this animated scene. What's this all about? Alright, this looks like a basketball stadium. There's these, basketball players, like, they're all whites. White skin, white jerseys, white sneakers, white everything. It looks like they have some very 80s hairstyles there. And there's a referee there that looks like a normal person. What are these basketball players supposed to be? Some kind of unusual creatures. In the background we see all these fans in the stands, but it looks to me like they used the same photograph of random people and they kind of repeated a bunch of times. If you look at this for too long, it looks really weird. Like, you can see the same guy with his arms stretched out and, like, wearing shirts of 4 different colors. Like, there he is in blue, there he is in yellow, there's green over there, and orange. It's a historic black and white photograph of an audience, and they kind of duplicated it a bunch of times to fill up all the stands. And up top there, it's what I think is supposed to be a scoreboard, but it's got, like, the outline of a man, almost like the kind of person symbol you'd see on a restroom sign. And this animation has a very low frame rate, and it looks like every single movement of these characters is just one cell. Because now we see the announcer, and whenever he talks, whenever his mouth moves, like every single pencil sketch of the rest of his body moves too. And this announcer guy looks very much like the Paul Bunyan dude from the original intro. I remember the first time I saw that older intro, I thought, hey, that looks like the guy from the Milkmakers. I was referring to this person here. I've watched this a million times, but I've never quite picked up what this man's name is. Let me see if I can hear this once more and figure it out. The clip I'm looking at here does not have closed captions. Well, actually, I wonder if I can get the closed captions to work on my old VHS tape. I think my VCR reads closed captions. Let me see if I can pull that up. See if I can find out what this guy's name is. Who is this dude? I keep thinking it's Marty Alvin or something, but I'm not sure. Let's see.
Hi, everybody. This is Marv Albert. What a welcome the crowd is giving the Milktrotters today.
Marv Albert. Marv Albert. Okay, that's who it is. I just watched the closed captions on my original VHS tape here. Marv Albert. M-A-R-V Albert. That's what his name is. Marv Albert is introducing us to a basketball team called the Milktrotters, which, of course, is supposed to be kind of a play on words of the Harlem Globetrotters, a basketball team from New York. This scene begins with some really cool sound effects of a big gymnasium with people cheering and guys playing basketball. I especially like the part where it says, "Woo! Woo! Yeah!" I don't know why, but my entire life, ever since I was a little kid, I've always liked gymnasiums. I always like how the sounds echo in the big room. It makes it feel like it's full of energy, so much fun. So the referee blows his whistle, and then he says, "All right, folks, it's game time." At the age of 3, I didn't know what the word folks meant. At first, I thought maybe that was the name of these weird-looking white creatures. Like, are they folks? Is that what they are? But he's actually calling the audience folks. I think what these guys are supposed to be are like these big blobs of milk with arms, legs, faces, and basketball attire. Because they're wearing these white uniforms with red stripes and red letters on, and Calcium passes the ball to Albumin? A-L-B-U something what is that? Lactalbumin, Lactalbumin. I guess albumin is his nickname. They got rid of the lactal. So all of these basketball players are different components of milk, the names that you see in the nutrition facts. Interesting. Albumin makes a basket there, and right behind the basketball hoop, we see some more really weird-looking black and white pictures of just random people in the stands, and they're sort of animated, like they move them around in funny ways as they're cheering and shouting. And every time somebody makes a basket, the scoreboard buzzes. The announcer says that albumin helps to produce the body's blood. And Google says that lactalbumin is a major component of whey protein and is found in the milk of mammals. And it's a minor component that leaks from the blood into milk and is an indicator of mammary gland health. Okay. Oh, actually, there's two different things. There's lactalbumin and bovine serum albumin. I wonder if bovine serum is the one they're referring to here on Reading Rainbow. BSA, it's called. BSA is the stuff that leaks from the blood into milk. Okay. I never heard the B in that word. I always thought it was alhuman, like human being. I'm looking again at these people in the stands. Most of them don't even look like sports spectators. I think they just took random pictures out of old, I don't know, storybooks or newspapers or magazines or old paintings, who knows where. Let's see, the guy in the front left is always waving his arms and cheering. The two guys on the right wearing orange, they keep moving their heads back and forth in a weird way. Almost like they're shaking their head no very rapidly. For whatever reason, I have no idea. There's also a couple on the very bottom, a man and a woman that, like their mouths open and close artificially, like they took the picture apart and made their faces move. This is all kind of creepy looking. And back to the game. Riboflavin is gonna make a basket here. The announcer says that if he makes the shots, then the body's cells will have the oxygen they need. Oh, I forgot to mention that on the scoreboard, when Albumin did his basket, the scoreboard, instead of numbers, showed the human body, and like the heart and blood veins appeared, representing that it's good for the blood. So let's see what happens when riboflavin makes his shot. The body cells will get the oxygen they need. Okay, now the body on the scoreboard just got a little bit muscular, and it's probably breathing in and out. I don't know why the music sounds so silly there. It's like... Okay, here comes our star player, Calcium. Bones and teeth really need calcium to grow strong, and he actually has to do it twice. He misses the first shot, but he tries again, and jumps up there, and tosses it right into the basket. And in the audience, there's hats flying all over the place. People throwing their hats into the air because they're really happy about that triumph. And on the scoreboard, bones appear on the body. And don't ask me why they've got sound effects representing a vintage car from 100 years ago. Honk, honk. And this player right here was actually one of my enemies when I was younger. Casein, but on Reading Rainbow it's pronounced Cassian. Casein. And Casey's quite a show-off, though. She takes her ball and jumps right up into the air, and she goes right through the hoop with the ball. It's very skinny, and the crowd goes wild. What a nutrient! What a building block of body muscle! Scoreboard's looking especially muscular now. Oh, I thought that casing girl was skinny. This is quite ironic here. This last girl, her name is Fats, and she does not look fat at all. She's not only very skinny, but also very tall. She's doing that fancy thing where you have a ball in one hand and let it roll across your arm and over your shoulders and into the other hand, and makes a basket. The announcer says, "Just look at Fats carrying those vitamins through the body." And as the game concludes, we see all of the parts of the body together, kind of overlapping. We see the muscles and the bones and the circular system, and the muscles on top of that, and the body on the scoreboard is complete, and it gives us a thumbs up. And to celebrate the fun game that they had, we've got a band playing their trumpets. And these all look like vintage photographs just going by. And Marty the announcer concludes by saying, "What a game! What an impressive display of team spirit! What a glass of milk!" And he's got a glass of milk in his hand, and he drinks some of it. Okay, so that part was interesting. It was a little bit weird. The animation was really goofy looking, and it had some odd sound effects too, but I liked it. And now we've reached the halfway point of this episode,